Welcome to Your Money, Your Life, our personal finance podcast focused on improving your life through financial wellness, brought to you by Black Enterprise Digital. I'm your host, Alfred Edmond Jr. On each episode of Your Money, Your Life, we address the topics and issues you deal with every day as you strive to make the most of your money and the best of your life. Via discussions and insights with top experts on everything from decoding your financial behavior and achieving financial freedom to conquering debt and creating a legacy of multi-generational wealth. On this edition of Your Money, Your Life, we'll address what can be the most intimidating, though necessary aspects of financial wellness, creating and living according to a spending plan, also known as a budget. We're going to talk about what it means to create a budget that works for you. And once again, we have a great guest with us to have a great conversation, someone who's traveled the path of financial wellness herself and often shares her story with others to help them find their way too. The one and only Angela Yee, host of The Breakfast Club and host and creator of the Lip Service podcast. Welcome, Angela.
Well, thank you, Alfred. It's good to have you here. I'm used to interviewing you, so this.
I know. So before we get started on today's topic, why don't you share a little bit? I mean, you're always up to something new whenever we talk. What are you working on now? What's going on with Angela and her financial life?
Well, you know, we have the juice bar, Juices for Life in Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy. That's 2 years now since we started that. And I partnered with Styles P and his partners, Leo and DJ Envy, to open that one in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And I also am starting my own pressed juice subscription-based business that actually launches in November. It's called Drink Fresh Juice. And so that would be an opportunity for people. What I noticed, people would always say, hey, I need a juice bar here in my area. I don't have one. How can I get your juices? So now I have a new company, Drink Fresh Juice. I partnered up with a friend of mine from way back in the day, from like 5th grade.
Oh, wow.
Kwesi and his wife. And the two of them already had a fresh pressed juice business in the Cayman Islands and in Brooklyn. So now they're back here. We're relaunching it. They own a farm as well. So it's going to be great. I'm excited for that. It's all natural, fresh pressed juices, and people can make subscriptions and get like a whole case every single how often they want to. So I'm excited for that, and that launches in November. That's my latest venture. And I'm also working on a documentary that is something I'm passionate about, and it's women who are hip-hop artists, but I'm starting in one particular city, and I have 5 phenomenal women. They're like superheroes. Wow, it's going to be a real documentary where they talk about their whole journey, but we're flies on the wall watching them as they do real things in life, and these women have been doing some incredible things, so I've been capturing footage of that.
When's that coming?
It's a work in progress. I think with a documentary like this, you never know when you're
let it happen.
So you have to force yourself to stop at some point. So right. I'm just, doing more. And these women, when I tell you they've been like doing so much every single day, I'm like, wow, one of them has a song on Insecure. Wow, one of them just opened up for Beyonce and Jay-Z. Like, just amazing things, and I want to highlight that.
So let's get right into it. So one of the things I love about you, and you've been such a great benefactor to the Black Enterprise audience, because the mogul, I like to call you mini mogul, you are now, you were very transparent at the beginning of the journey of your struggles with your finances, kind of getting your arms around financial literacy, taking the baby steps, taking those early steps. Why have you been so open and transparent about your journey?
Well, I think it's important because I wish I had a lot of information when I was younger that I wouldn't say I didn't have access to it, because we all have access to information, but I just wasn't even thinking about it. So the fact that somebody like myself, I was a mess financially. The fact that somebody like myself, who never thought that they would own a home or never thought that they would own businesses, I never was raised to even think that way. The fact that I have all those things going on, like I have 3 houses in Detroit that I'm working on rehabbing, that I'm so happy I bought, because we see how valuable Detroit is right now. And just things like that I never even thought about. I think about all the time that I wasted, all the money that I wasted, that I wish I would have had this information, because once you know certain things and see people like you doing things, it really inspires you.
And you've inspired so many people, because, I know people personally, including at least one of my daughters, who, because of what you've done, they just changed their whole thinking about what was even possible for them. And if you don't think it's possible, you don't do it. So let's talk about the big, ugly, scary thing, at least at the very beginning of the journey, the idea that you need to have a budget, that you got to live according to a budget. And a lot of people see that as, that means I can't have things, or I got to be good at math, or whatever those things that make you think, no, I don't want to do that. What was your approach at the very, very beginning to that process?
Well, okay, so let's start back. When I was in college, I didn't know anything about budgeting. I just figured I'm going to use these credit cards till they don't work anymore, and then I just won't open the bill. And that was how I lived my life until I got out of school. I was in debt. My credit was awful. And yes, I still had to pay that off. And it was a heavy cloud for me. It was stressful. And so what I had to do was I did a lot of freelance work. I write, so I did some bios, I was doing events, I was just getting money however I could, and I made it a priority to pay those bills off. So once I did, I was like, okay, but I still wasn't making a lot of money. And sometimes, I could say this for myself early on, when you're not making a lot of money, you're just like, who cares? I'm never going to get out of this hole, so I might as well dig myself deeper. And I think that's what my mentality was at that time. But at a certain point in time, I think it was when I got my first apartment, and I had to use my dad's social security number to co-sign. I don't think he knows that to this day. But
Dad, you know now.
I was like, I just have to figure out how to make more money and then get myself out of this debt, get my credit back right again, and figure out how to start saving. And saving can be really nerve-wracking, because when you're not making a lot, it's hard to save a lot. And then you're also thinking, I have to put some money away just in case something happens, but I can't even invest. So how do I think about my retirement when I'm trying to think about how am I supposed to get a Metro card to get on the train? Right. You know, so those things are difficult to do. But for myself, at a certain point, I said, I just have to make more money and set goals for myself. So every single year, since I graduated from college, the next year, except for maybe there was like 2 years this didn't happen, I made more money than I did the previous year. And part of that was me actually going to my place of employment and sitting down and asking for a raise. And that's something a lot of people don't do. And I encourage people to do that. I can tell you exactly how you should ask for a raise. Like, I went in and I remember I was making $50,000 a year. I had my student loans, I had my rent, I had bills to pay, I was in debt, and I was like, look, after I worked at the company for a year, I went to them and I said, hey, I've been doing this, this, and that. And I had a whole entire booklet of all the press that I've gotten, the things that I've done, things that weren't in my job description, but I was doing them anyway. And I said, these are the things that I've been doing. I've been going above and beyond. I love working here, but I want to know about opportunities to make more money that can reflect all the things that I've been doing. Because you can't ever ask for a raise because you need one or you want one. You have to ask for it because you deserve it. So I went in there knowing that I deserved a raise, and they gave me a 40% raise and a $10,000 bonus, and that helped me out a lot, and it gave me a lot of confidence. Right. And I remember after that, they should have never did that, because every year I was like, hey, so I'm back again for my review.
Well, but if you make more money but you're not keeping track of it, and I know people who are much older than you are who are making 10 times as much as they ever thought they'd ever make when they were young people, but they're not better off because they weren't budgeting and they weren't planning.
You make more, you spend more.
You spend more. So we're going to take a quick break so you can digest everything you heard so far. But when we come back, I want to talk about how budgeting doesn't create stress; it relieves stress when you can kind of have a feel for knowing at least where your money's coming from and where it's going, and being able to plan accordingly, especially when you're able to get a raise or you suffer an expense that you didn't anticipate.
Or you get a nice check and you're like, I don't want to just blow it.
Exactly. So we'll be right back. Okay, let's get right back into it. We're here with Angela Yee, host of The Breakfast Club, creator and host of Lip Service Podcast. Angela, talk about creating a budget that works for your particular situation and not being intimidated by, spreadsheets and the things that people think they got to have a budget. It really is kind of a basic knowing what's coming in, knowing what's going to go out, and having a plan for dealing with that so you can relieve stress as opposed to carrying stress.
And there's so many great apps that can help you do that as well, to make things a lot simpler for you. But I have to say, what I had to do was for certain things that are the same exact amount every single month, I do that on auto pay.
Yes.
So that I know every month this is the amount of money that's going to come out of my account. And then other things, I make sure I get electronic reminders so I know when it's time for me to make this particular payment and make sure I pay those bills. That way, I take care of those things that are essential. Like, I have to make sure back then that my student loans were paid, had to make sure that cell phone bill is paid, have to make sure that your rent is paid, have to make sure that your gas and electric is paid, all of those things that are necessities that you have to do. And another thing that I did was I had a roommate. And a lot of people don't want to do that. And I have friends now that I'm like, I don't know why you're paying all this rent, because rent is expensive.
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge expense. And when you have a roommate, that really cut things in half. First of all, I had a way nicer place than I could have had on my own. And then I was splitting like the cable bill, all those bills are getting split down the middle. That allowed me to save. And sometimes you have to put your pride to the side and say, let me get a roommate. Like you can get, say you're in Brooklyn and you get a 1-bedroom for $2,000. You can get a way nicer 2-bedroom for $3,000, but now you're only paying $1,500, and then you're splitting all those bills. And sometimes you have to do those things to save money.
And then when you capture those savings, you know, again, whether you, there's only really 2 ways to get ahead. Make more money by asking for a raise, or cutting expenses.
Yes.
And this, a roommate is a
And
great
that was
example
a
of that.
huge
And if you have a
expense.
budget, you could say, okay, that's another $1,000 or $500 that I didn't account for. I can apply that toward this aspect, or you know, a debt that I want to pay off, or a vacation I want to save for, whatever your goals are. I mean, that's what budgeting really is. It's having a plan to get where you want to go.
And certain things that I do that really have helped me out is, like you said, vacation. Every month I put aside $200 for a vacation that I don't touch and don't look at. And that way, at the end of the year, I have $2,400 that I could spend on whatever it is that I want to do. And it feels like I'm not paying for anything because it's already set to the side.
And then when you come back, because you budgeted and saved for the vacation, I know people have more stress when they get back from their vacation than they did before they left, because either they took on a whole bunch of debt to finance the trip, or something else didn't get paid and now they got to try to figure out how to do that. And the whole point of taking a vacation
Is
is
to have less stress. Another thing that I'm really a big proponent of is points. You know, I use my points for everything. I travel a lot for work, so I use my miles. And when it's time for me to go on vacation for myself, a lot of times I still have money left over from that budget I put to the side, because I use the points from whatever I did for work, and I buy my flight with my points. Don't pay, you know, maybe pay just the tax, $11 or whatever it is. And then I also have a lot of points because I get double points like this. I use Expedia, which you get points for, and I also apply those towards whatever bonus, like if it's a Hilton hotel, so I get double the amount of points because I book through here, but I stay at these places, and I have every type of like program that's a frequent flyer or a hotel stay program. I have all of those, and I use those benefits all the time. And then on Amex, I also get points, and if I want to treat myself to something like a nice dinner, you know, they have gift cards for certain restaurants, so now I have a $500 gift card, and I can take my mom, my brother, and my dad, or take my friends out for a birthday dinner, whatever it is I want to do that's a luxury. That's not costing me anything. I'm just using my points for that.
See, and that's the power of budgeting. Once you know what you're working with, you can use strategies to do the things that you really, really want to do. So in the moments we have left, you know, this is about creating a budget that works for you where you are today. How has budgeting changed for you at the beginning of the journey to where you are now?
I think that my goals are so big now. I didn't have huge goals before. And I think it is important to be realistic. You know, at first, like my thing was, how am I ever going to buy a house in Brooklyn? Brooklyn is ridiculously expensive. You know, fortunately, I got a job making more money. And when I did that, I think when you set goals for yourself, it's so exciting to reach it. Like, so what? I don't have a brand new designer bag. I'm saving for a house. And when you can put things in prioritize things like that, and even being able to invest somewhere else. I bought a house in Detroit for $25,000. I don't have to pay anything but the taxes every single year. That house is worth $150,000 now. You know,
that's exciting.
And that was only 2 years ago. But the fact that I was able to do that, and then once I fix that house up, it's going to be worth almost $400,000. You know, things like that, it makes you feel so great. I think once you get on that path, it's just doing small things to get started. I remember starting my Roth IRA and having a 401k plan at my job. That was just a little bit of money I was putting in every single month. But once you see that grow, it gives you a lot more confidence as far as money. And I think it's so important to talk to people who know more than you, because I would have been the first person to tell you that I am definitely not an expert in finances. So I would hit up people, and I would sit down and talk to people at the bank, and just whoever is a financial advisor. I think it's a great idea to ask for help. People think you have to have a lot of money to ask for help when it comes to finances, but really you need it if you don't have a lot of money, because that's what it's for.
That's great. That's a great place to stop. Here's the message I'd like to leave people with. You know, people say, oh, you become financially savvy after you make a lot of money. No, the financial savvy comes first, and like you say, you build confidence, you learn more, you make better decisions, and that results in better financial results, and that's why budgeting is so important. Listen, thank you, Angela. I'm such a big fan of yours, not just because of the Breakfast Club, but just because of the way you take what you learn and then you share it right away and help other people too. So thank you for being a guest on Your Money, Your Life, and all the great things you do to help people improve their financial wellness.
No, thank you. I appreciate you guys at Black Enterprise also, because I know you have been so supportive of everything that I have going on also. So I so much appreciate that.
Great. If you don't already know, you can catch Angela along with her co-host Charlamagne the God and DJ Envy on The Breakfast Club. And you definitely want to check out her podcast, Lip Service. I'm going to leave it right there. Yeah, it's a great podcast, though. You can also check out the podcast channel at blackenterprise.com to find Your Money, Your Life and other podcasts from Black Enterprise editors, writers, and experts. Also, be sure to subscribe to Your Money, Your Life on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or any other podcast directory. And if you like what you hear, and I know you like what you just heard, please leave a 5-star review. This is Alfred Edmonds Jr. with Your Money, Your Life for blackenterprise.com. Thanks for listening. Be ready for more next time.